She said, "It's my life, I'll party with my ex if I want." I said nothing. I just handed her the divorce papers on her birthday. I am a 30-year-old man. I put the envelope on the table at the restaurant while the candles were still smoking. People were cheering. Someone was taking photos. The chocolate on the plate spelled her name in shaky script. I did not speak. I slid the envelope toward her the way you push a bill after a quiet meal. She looked at it like it was a joke. She thought I had written a letter. She thought I was trying to be romantic. When she understood what it was, I watched the light in her eyes change shape. I did not feel proud. I did not feel strong. I felt a steady quiet that had taken months to build. This ending did not begin at a restaurant. It started with smaller things that hid behind laughter. When we got engaged, she posted the photo of the ring before she told her grandmother. She loved celebration. She loved noise. I told myself I could live with noise if there was trust. She told me that trust meant letting her be herself without asking her to shrink. I agreed because I did not want to be the man who policed joy. I told her that my only boundary was respect. She said respect was hard to measure, so I should be patient. I tried to be patient. Her ex lived in the same city, one subway line away. He was the kind of man who always seemed to be at the center of a party. He had a talent for arriving where cameras were pointed. I never asked her to block him. I never demanded proof. I asked only that she keep clear lines. She said they had history but nothing else. She said adults could handle distance with grace. She said I should trust her because she chose me. I wanted to believe that choosing once meant choosing every day after. The first time she went to a reunion where he would be present, she told me it was harmless. She said she would be home by midnight. I told her to have fun. Midnight became 1. 1 became 2. She walked in at 3 with glitter on her sleeves and the breathless energy of people who have been shouting over music. She apologized with a smile and said time had slipped. She said I was overreacting when I looked worried. I told her that worry didn't mean control. It meant I was attached. She said attachment felt like a leash if I wasn't careful. I went to bed and stared at the ceiling until morning. It would be easy to paint her as careless and me as noble. That is not the truth. I loved order more than I loved being admired. I kept a calendar for everything, even meals. I used to send her gentle reminders about things she already knew. It made her feel handled. She told me that management isn't love. She wanted spontaneity. She wanted to wake up and decide on the day. I tried to loosen my grip. I said yes to last-minute plans. I learned to say enjoy instead of be careful. But there is a difference between flexibility and pretending to be blind. The day everything broke had nothing special about it. It was a Thursday. She said she would meet an old friend for drinks after work. She said it would be early. I was cooking rice and chicken and chopping cucumbers the way she liked them, with too much lemon. I set a plate for her and covered it with foil so the steam would soften the edges. At 9, she texted that the place was full and they had moved to a different bar. At 10, she stopped answering. At 11, a mutual friend tagged her in a story. I saw my fiancée in a corner booth with her ex on one side and her friend on the other. She had her head thrown back in a laugh people practice when they know a lens is watching. My chest went cold and flat like a pan left in the freezer. I did not write angry messages. I did not call 10 times. I waited. She climbed into bed at 2, smelling like citrus and smoke. She told me she was tired. She said I was creating a scene when I asked who had been there. I told her I already knew. She said it was just a party and that nothing happened. She said it was her life and that she would party with whoever she wanted. She added that trust meant stepping back, not stepping in. She rolled away and went to sleep. I lay awake until I could count my heartbeat without losing track. The next morning, she said we needed to talk about control. She said my need to track time made her feel like a teenager. She said she would not give up her friends because I was uneasy. I told her I didn't want her to give up anything. I wanted respect to look like action, not slogans. I wanted her to draw lines publicly, not just whisper them to me in the kitchen. She agreed in theory and then did what she wanted anyway. She started spending more evenings out. She said she was building a network for work. She said the industry was social, and reputation lived in rooms with music. I sent her a text once asking if she was safe. She replied with a photo of a crowded table and a caption that said I should relax. A month later, I found out her ex was among the people there. She said it was unavoidable because they ran in the same circles. She said I was being old-fashioned. I said I didn't care about fashion. I cared about promises. She said I was turning this into a rule, and rules were why her last relationship had died. When you live with someone who confuses freedom with proximity to the past, you learn to count new kinds of numbers. You count the hours she is unreachable. You count the times her phone eases itself face down. You count the names of people who suddenly become small secrets. You count the times you tell yourself to wait for proof because proof would make it clean. Clean never comes. Real life is grime and fingerprints and assumptions that need wiping every day. I started going to the gym at night to fill the space. I ran until the belt under my feet felt like a road that refused to end. I lifted weights and counted reps because reps had answers. On the walk home, I practiced calm things to say. I thought about the life we were supposed to be building after the wedding, with slow mornings and quiet evenings and joint grocery lists. Instead, I walked past lit windows and saw strangers eating together without checking their phones. I felt like a man waiting in a corridor for a door that would not open. There were bright days in between. We took a weekend trip to the coast. We cooked pasta with too much garlic and laughed when the smoke alarm yelled at us. She fell asleep on my chest with the soft weight of trust one still believed in. On those days, I told myself we were fine. I told myself I was uptight and needed to grow up. I told myself this was modern love, and I should not try to drag it back to the past. But love is not a fashion trend. It is a set of small agreements you renew without applause. 2 weeks before her birthday, I found a message on our shared tablet. It was a calendar alert she had created for herself. It said, Saturday, Max's party. Max is the ex. The alert had a smiley face beside it, the kind she used for nail appointments and movie nights. My stomach clenched. I waited until she came home and asked her about Saturday. She said she had a friend's party. I asked which friend. She said a colleague. I told her I saw the alert. She said I was snooping. I said it popped up when I was checking our budget app. She said it didn't matter because it was just a party. She added the same sentence she always added when she wanted to end a conversation. She reminded me that it was her life. I did not shout. I told her that if she chose to go, I would accept her choice as information, not noise. She asked what that meant. I told her it meant I would act accordingly. She shrugged and said adults go to parties all the time. She said she would be home before midnight. She kissed my cheek like we were fine. I stood in the kitchen and stared at a lemon on the counter because the bright color made it easier to breathe. Saturday came. I went to the gym early. I changed the sheets. I opened windows. I made soup because chopping vegetables steadies the mind. She dressed in a way that said she wanted to be seen. She asked me if the earrings were too much. I told her she looked beautiful. She smiled at the mirror and told me not to wait up. She left with a scent that lingered after the door closed, like a sentence missing its verb. At 10:30, I received a message from a friend who did not like drama but liked truth. She wrote that she had seen my fiancé at the party and that the ex had his hand on her waist during a photo. She added that it might have been innocent or it might not, but she thought I should know. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. I deleted the message so I wouldn't read it again. I placed my phone face up on the table and sat with my hands open, palms to the ceiling, like someone waiting for rain that would not come. Midnight came and went. At 1:30, the door opened. She walked in with the soft steps of someone trying not to wake a house. I was on the couch, not asleep. She saw the light and sighed. She said she had told me not to wait up. She said she was exhausted. I asked if she had a good time. She said it was fine. I asked if he had been there. She said yes. I asked if they had talked. She said everyone talked to everyone. I asked if they had taken photos together. She said maybe in a group. She told me I was turning into a detective and that detectives don't make good husbands. I told her I wasn't investigating anything. I was recording. She rolled her eyes and went to the shower. I sat on the couch until the water stopped. I got up, turned off the light, and lay in the dark beside the sound of her breathing. It felt like sleeping next to a neighbor. The next morning, I called my father. He is the most direct man I know. He said marriage needs two people pulling the same rope. He said fun is fine, but loyalty is not a game. He said if I stayed, should stay with clarity. If I left, I should leave with calm. He said men waste years waiting for partners to say words they do not want to say. He told me to decide what I could live with before the vows made it harder. I thanked him and stared at the ceiling in the same room where we had dreamed about paint colors and a bigger table. I made an appointment with a counselor. I went alone. I told the counselor I was not looking for confirmation. I wanted language for what was happening. She said I was grieving a version of the relationship that existed mostly in my plans. She said my fiancé might never cheat with her body but could still betray with patterns. She said the sentence "it's my life" is sometimes a door closing on partnership. She asked me what I needed to feel safe. I told her I needed honesty that did not need a stage. I needed boundaries that did not require debate. I needed proof that the future was not going to be a rotating party. In the week before her birthday, I tried once more. I told my fiancé that I wanted us to plan the celebration together and keep it small. I said I wanted dinner and a quiet walk. She said she had already been invited to a big night out organized by friends. She said it would be rude to change it. She said we could do our dinner another time. I said okay. I booked a table anyway for two at a place she loved, just in case she chose us over spectacle. I printed the papers I had prepared and placed them in an envelope that looked like a card. I signed where I had to sign. My hand shook for only one line. On her birthday, she spent the afternoon at a salon. She came home glowing. She asked if I liked the dress she had picked. I said yes. She asked if I would join the group for a drink before the party. I said I had made a reservation for us. She looked surprised. She said she couldn't cancel on everyone. I told her I wasn't asking her to cancel. I was asking her to choose how the night would begin. She hesitated. She finally said we could do a quick dinner if it made me happy. I did not say that happy was not the point. I drove us to the restaurant in silence that felt like glass. We ate. We laughed a little. It looked normal if you took a photo without sound. Then her phone started buzzing. Friends were asking where she was. Someone sent her a video of music and sparklers. She looked at me with a face that asked for permission without saying the word. I nodded. She said we should hurry so she wouldn't be late to her own party. I asked for the check. The server brought the cake because I had arranged it earlier. The candles flickered. People at other tables clapped. She closed her eyes and made a wish. I wondered which life she had wished for. When she opened her eyes, I pushed the envelope across the table. I said nothing because there was nothing left to explain. She picked it up and smiled the way people smile at surprises. The smile left. She asked what this was with a voice that was trying to be light. I told her it was what happened when two people built different homes under the same roof. I told her it was a choice I had made because she had made hers. She said I was ruining her birthday. I said a birthday is a date, a marriage is a life. She said she would not sign anything out of anger. I said I was not angry. I was finished. She left the restaurant without dessert. I paid, walked into the street, and stood there while the night pressed warm air onto my skin. The city kept moving. People laughed. A bus hissed and knelt. I held the small card the server had tucked into the bill, a handwritten note that said happy birthday, and I felt the weight of an ending that made no sound. I went home and took the extra toothbrush out of the holder. I folded the blanket she liked and put it in a drawer. I turned off the lights and waited for morning. She did not come home. She stayed at a friend's place that night. In the morning, she sent a message that said we needed to talk. She asked if I was serious or if this was theater. I replied that it was not theater. I told her to come by when she was ready. She showed up around noon with sunglasses and the kind of calm that is really just a shell. She sat at the table and said I had blindsided her. She said I should have warned her. I said I had warned her with every conversation we had for months. She said those were complaints, not ultimatums. I said I did not deal in ultimatums. I dealt in decisions. She asked me what would satisfy me. She asked if I needed her to block every person she had a past with. She asked if I needed a schedule for her nights. I told her I needed something simple. I needed to feel like her future mattered more than her audience. I needed to know that when there was a choice between noise and us, she would pick us without resentment. I told her I couldn't stay married to a woman who spoke about marriage like a restriction. She said I was using big words to hide a small heart. She said I was scared of a woman who didn't orbit me. I said I was scared of living inside a constant test. She said nothing happened with her ex. I told her I believed she kept her body faithful. I said that didn't make her choices kind. She said kindness was not the point. She said I was trying to control her social life. I said I wasn't. I said I was protecting my peace. She asked if a signature would really give me peace. I said a signature would give me clarity. She cried without wiping her face. Then she stopped as if a switch had been flipped. She asked what the next steps were. I showed her the procedure. We spoke about logistics like coworkers who had reached the end of a contract. For a week, we lived like polite strangers. We split rooms. We split time in the kitchen. We split the couch. We told mutual friends to speak for themselves and not for us. People took sides anyway because people prefer teams. Some said I was overdramatic. Some said she had been reckless for months. Some tried to keep us in the same room so they could watch. I declined invitations that smelled like entertainment. I kept going to the gym early and walking home before sunrise when the city belongs to people who clean it. I met my counselor again and told her what I had done. She did not congratulate me. She did not scold me. She asked if the quiet in my chest felt steady or empty. I told her it felt like a room after guests leave. You can hear your own breath again, but you also notice the crumbs. She told me to let the broom be patient. She told me to write a short list of values and keep it on my desk. She said every decision should pass through that list. I wrote down 4 words: loyalty, peace, truth, home. On the 3rd day, her mother called me. She said I was ruining a good thing because of pride. She said men used to understand that women need fun. I told her this was not about fun. This was about the definition of we. She said her daughter had always been wild and that everyone knew it. She asked me what I expected. I said I expected partnership. She said I should have married a quiet girl. I said I had married the woman I loved and then learned who she was when no one was watching. She told me I would regret this. I said perhaps, but regret is better than resentment. My father came by with a bag of groceries and a look that said I didn't need to talk. We put food in the fridge and then organized the spice drawer because manual tasks are better than speeches. He told me that leaving well is harder than staying badly. He said to keep my voice even and my papers clean. He said to stop reading every message twice like it held a code. He asked if I wanted him at the meeting with the mediator. I said no. I said I needed to stand there alone and not shake. He nodded and left without hugging me too hard. The day we met the mediator, she arrived 10 minutes late with a fresh haircut. She looked like someone going to a photo shoot. The mediator was kind and brisk. He asked us what we wanted. I said I wanted an efficient process and no character assassination. She said she wanted to understand how we got here so fast. He said fast is relative when you count the slow months that led to today. He named the forms. He set dates. He told us that if we kept it simple, it would be simple. We agreed with our mouths. Our eyes did not agree. We divided objects the way people divide years. We argued over small things because small things are safe places to put pain. She wanted the coffee machine because she said she had picked it. I said she could have it. She wanted the rug. I said fine. I asked for the dining table we had chosen together because I wanted to keep at least one surface that had held our plans. She said I could take it if I also took the chairs she hated. I said I would buy cushions. We signed a sheet that looked like a shopping list written by people breaking a home into parts. I went back to my apartment and sat on the floor beside the table and cried without sound because sound would have turned it into a scene for no one. In the middle of all this, her ex sent me a message from a number I did not know. He said I should stop dragging her name in circles. I had not dragged anything. I had stayed very quiet. He said I should learn to trust. I stared at the screen and felt a heat that I had kept under water rise. I did not answer. I blocked the number. I took a walk around the block and breathed in through my nose and out through my mouth until the urge to break something left. When I came back, I put my phone face down and made tea. I told myself that peace is built one ignored provocation at a time. She came by to collect clothes. She moved around our bedroom like a guest in a nice hotel. She thanked me for folding her sweaters. She said I had always been neat. I said neat had been my comfort. She said she hoped I found someone who liked quiet. I said I hoped she found someone who liked noise and also knew how to sleep. She laughed in a way that sounded like metal on tile. She asked if there was anything else to say. I said no. We stood there looking at the window as if the glass had answers. Then she left with a suitcase that rolled too loudly in the hallway. People think handing papers on a birthday is cruel. Maybe it is. I did not choose the date to wound her. I chose it because birthdays make people honest about how they want to live. On that night, she wanted the crowd. I wanted the table. Our truths stood next to each other like two strangers waiting for different trains. The people in our lives could decorate the scene with opinions, but the tracks did not meet. The weeks after the signing were slow and sharp. I learned to cook for one without wasting half a bunch of herbs. I moved the bed to a different wall. I deleted photos that turned my phone into a museum. I kept two. One was of us on a rainy sidewalk sharing an umbrella that failed to keep either of us dry. The other was of an empty beach at dawn from the weekend trip that had made me believe we were solid. I kept them to remind myself that love had existed and that its ending did not erase its beginning. Work became a quiet refuge. I arrived early and left on time. I took walks at lunch without my phone. I started a small habit of writing 3 lines each night: one true thing I felt, one thing I did well, and one thing I would do tomorrow. The first nights, the lines were bleak. Then they grew steady. Steady matters more than happy. Friends tried to pull me into noise. They said I needed rebound fun. They said the best way to forget is to drown the memory. I said I was not trying to forget. I was trying to learn. I went out once to be polite. I stood in a room full of music and people taking videos of themselves pretending not to pose. I watched a man place his hand on a woman's waist for a photo. She did not move his hand. The room felt like a lesson I had already paid for. I went home and slept better than I expected. Months later, she sent me a message on a weekday afternoon. She said a song had come on in a store and she had thought of me. She said she was sorry for how it all unfolded. She did not ask to meet. She did not ask to return. She said she hoped I was well. I stared at the words and felt a small wave of tenderness and then nothing. I replied that I wished her peace. She sent a heart icon. I did not respond. I put my phone away and watered a plant that had been dying in the corner. It looked a little greener the next day. I met someone new in a place that did not require shouting. She did not glitter. She did not pose. She asked real questions and listened to the ends of my answers. I told her up front that I needed quiet forms of loyalty. I told her my last relationship had taught me that some sentences are red flags disguised as independence. She said independence has room for we. She said she liked tables more than crowds. We took a slow walk and did not take photos. I felt something unfold in my chest that did not need an audience. One evening, I saw my ex across the street outside a bar. She was with friends. She saw me and lifted a hand in a small greeting. I lifted mine. It was nothing more than that. I turned the corner and kept walking. I felt no triumph. I felt no collapse. I felt a neutral calm that tasted like clean water. It is strange how peace feels like the absence of flavor until you remember what bitterness was like. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday with an email and a stamped PDF. I sat at my desk after work and read the words that dissolved a promise. They were clinical and short. I closed the computer and made dinner. I ate at the table I had fought to keep. I said a short prayer thanking God for endings that arrive without fire. I thought about the boy I had been when we met, eager to perform patience, eager to be modern in ways that did not suit me. I thought about the man who handed an envelope on a birthday. He was not a hero. He was not a villain. He was a person who learned that love without shared boundaries is just weather. If she tells this story, she might say I embarrassed her. She might say I made her choose between joy and commitment. She might say I was controlling. She would be wrong about some parts and right about others. I did want control of my own peace. I did make her choose, but only because she already had. I did embarrass her, because truth in public can look like humiliation when someone has been living by performance. I keep the envelope in a drawer now, empty and flat. It reminds me that paper is not the hard part. The hard part is getting honest about what you can live with and then acting like it is daytime, not midnight. The hard part is refusing to turn your life into a courtroom or a nightclub when what you need is a home. The hard part is saying nothing at the right moment and letting the papers speak, not out of cruelty but out of clarity. Sometimes people ask me if I would do it differently. I think about the lemon on the counter that night, bright and useless against a storm. I think about the way she said it was her life. She was right. It is her life. And this is mine. I am building it with quiet promises, small dinners, early mornings, and a door that locks from the inside but opens easily for the right knock. I do not hate her. I do not miss the noise. I am not waiting by any phone. I am choosing the table again and again. On my next birthday, a few friends gathered at my place. We ate simple food and played cards. The cake spelled my name in a steadier hand. There were no sparklers. No speeches. I blew out the candles and made a wish that was less a wish and more a decision. I wished to keep pulling the same rope as someone who knows the direction. I wished to keep the list on my desk short and honest. I wished to never hand another envelope like that again because I won't need to. When the night ended, I stood alone in the kitchen and cleaned up. The quiet felt earned. I washed the plates, dried them, and put them back in their places. I looked at the table and ran my hand along the grain. I turned off the light. The room held its breath and then relaxed. I went to bed and slept the way people sleep when the door is locked, the phone is face down, and the life inside the walls matches the words on the calendar. There was no audience. There was no noise. There was only the steady sound of my own breathing and the soft certainty that, this time, peace would last.
Follow me for more stories.